On this International Women's Day, a very important project has been launched here at DIRCO, the Gertrude Shope project aimed at bringing together women in relation to issues that are related to mediation. As you know, that particularly on the continent we have challenges, and this will be an initiative that will bring together women in different parts of the continent for mediation processes, because women are often left out of the talks. Minister Dlamini-Zuma, let me start with you. Okay, thank you. Let me start with DIRCO. Dr. Naledi Pandor, this is quite an important initiative, particularly when you look at what's happening on the continent before we move to other regions.
Indeed, it's very, very important, particularly to launch the network on International Women's Day, a day in which women mark advances of women and struggles by women. I think the network will assist us to ensure that we bring women together from a range of networks that are established in different parts of the world. Our key purpose is to ensure that women all over the world play a role in conflict resolution, as well as in negotiating the outcomes beyond the end of a conflict. Often women are marginalized and forgotten when it is time to engage on what peace might look like and what the post-conflict governance institutions would exist. So I think part of our mandate through the network is to train women to have the skills and to join their resources together to play an effective role in these matters of peace and security.
Minister, you led in a very important portfolio as a former Foreign Affairs Minister. You have first-hand experience. You came at a time when it was still not fashionable for women to do these kinds of work. What should be the approach to this important initiative?
Thank you very much. Let's congratulate DIRCO for all the work they are doing. But let me say that the approach should be, women should be not just included as an afterthought. They should be an integral part of resolving conflict and preventing conflict, because we mustn't just talk about resolving it, we must talk about preventing conflict. And women come with different insights. For instance, men tend to be stuck in negotiations on power sharing. And we say, why do you call it power sharing? It's responsibility. If you call it responsibility, they're probably more willing to share. But if you say it's power, then they don't want to share power. So it's, women bring a different perspective. There was a very interesting story about men who were fighting about some river. And the women said, but that river is dried up. Why are you still fighting about it? So women are more practical. And they want to prevent, but also women are not just looking at resolving this conflict. They know that this conflict is affecting their children, is affecting their lives, is affecting the life of the community. So the sooner it is resolved, the better. They are not just looking up at their own interest, but they're looking at the interest of the entire community or even country.
Minister, with the defense, you have soldiers outside South Africa, and you have women who are playing an important role to bring peace and stability on the continent. Are we seeing more women getting involved in terms of peace interventions, including the intervention force, a very critical one?
We must thank Gertrude Shope. You'll remember that in the first conference of the ANC, it was under her leadership that we demanded the 30%. That 30% we carried into the defense. And that is why today you will see generals of women coming up. I hope we get more. But also we influence, as South Africa, more and more peacekeeping interventions across the world having at least 30% of women. And that is because they, as Comrade Nkosazana says, they always are well-rounded, they look at different issues, and they bring more talks, more dialogue. So yes, there will be more and more. I hope in my lifetime there will be a chief of the South African National Defence Force who is a woman, married and all. But it is also important because when they get there, they don't rape other women. They look after the welfare of children. They protect households. They will warn us that a certain condition is coming and it might affect the communities in this way. They will not just look at the antagonism. They look holistically. So yes, we will continue to play a very positive role in making peace. We will make sure that the children, especially the young children that we find in these war zones, are secured, find school, and protected. If it means that we actually negotiate for them to be taken out of, then we do that. So I am proud of being an African woman, but I'm also very proud to be a product of Gertrude Shope.
And on the Middle East question, ahead of Ramadan, women are not celebrating this day in the Middle East.
Our position is very clear. You do not exercise your freedoms if you cannot exercise your right to worship, your right to identify with who you are, your historical roots. So we want to say that the women must be free. The women must feel free to express themselves. They must feel secure to walk. Their children must feel free to dream about futures. So we want to see peace reigning, but that peace can only happen if two parties are brought to the table. Maybe we should say kicking and screaming, so that finally we can talk. If we could deal with the monster of apartheid in our country, we do not see why we cannot continue to call for and push for peace between the Palestinian and the Israeli.
Minister, last night, President Biden said he is going to build a temporary port to ensure that aid is brought into Gaza. You made a very powerful statement on Monday saying, you powerful nations, use your military might to ensure that aid does get into Gaza. Is this approach exactly what you wanted, or you still have issues?
Well, I think I wish to really congratulate President Biden and thank him for the announcement that has been made. We look forward to humanitarian aid reaching the people of Gaza and West Bank. I think thanks to the SABC as well for allowing my own call to be on the networks. I think President Biden probably watches SABC. But what we hope for is much more. We believe the routes for delivery of humanitarian aid must be open. This is a good announcement. It's a good beginning. We welcome it. But we'd like to see humanitarian aid as per UN prescripts freely accessed by people wherever the need exists.
Minister, the same issue. What's your view to women in Palestine at this moment in the DRC in Sudan? Your message to them?
You know, it's heart-wrenching to see a child die of starvation, as we are seeing in Palestine. Can you imagine what women are feeling when your child starves to death? So what Minister Pandor was saying, that humanitarian aid must come freely to Palestine so that children of Palestine can eat, can have medicine, can have things that all children of the world have, so that they can have dignity. There's no dignity in starving to death. So women, we are in solidarity with them in Palestine, in Sudan, everywhere, because when there is war, women and children suffer most. Everywhere.
And finally, today, the list is going to the IEC. Dr. Dlamini-Zuma, are we going to see you on the list?
I said I'm not going to Parliament. And I'm not going to Parliament because as you dance, you must also give other people a chance. And it's also my gratitude to my organization. I've been given opportunities, probably more opportunities than anyone else. I'm there now in cabinet. I'm the only one who was there in the first cabinet. In the first cabinet, there were 2 women. We went to Dada, the 2 of us, and we said, no, Dada, why are we only 2? And then he promised that whenever there is an opportunity, he'll bring more women, which he did, and subsequent presidents have been doing the same. So I've also been given portfolios. I've been given an opportunity to go to the continent to chair the AU. But I'm not going to stop being an activist. I'm just stopping going to Parliament. I'll do what I did before I went to Parliament. I was not sitting at home and doing nothing.